Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Works meeting for Monday, October 3rd. I have with me Councilmember Marley Larimer, Councilmember Seth Winter-Core. I'm Councilmember Brenda Fincher, Chair of the committee. I also have Public Works Director Chad Barron, and keeping everything in order, we have Cheryl B. Seth, very able, taking the minutes. I am going to ask for a motion if there are no changes to the agenda.
No changes.
Okay, a motion is in order.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the September 19th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And now we're going to move on to Tara Duckworth's presentation on the amendment to contract with Compulink Management Center, Inc.
Good evening, council members. I'm Tara Duckworth, and I'm the Deputy Director of Information Technology. And tonight I'm bringing you hopefully no feedback. Tonight I'm bringing you an amendment to the Compulink Management Center contract. This contract covers our Laserfiche document management software, which we use for document creation and routing and editing and retention. I'm asking that you authorize the mayor to sign this contract amendment with Compulink, which will extend the contract term to run concurrently with the state's underlying contract and authorize future purchases within budgets previously established by the council, and to ratify all prior acts consistent with this motion and the contract amendment.
Thank you. As I sit here with two IT people, any questions?
No questions for me?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice and simple. Okay, go ahead.
We have a motion.
You're going to make the motion.
Chair, I move to authorize the mayor to sign a contract amendment with Compulink Management Center, Inc. to extend the contract term to run concurrently with the state's contract, to authorize future purchases within budgets previously established by council, and to ratify all prior acts consistent with this motion and the contract amendment.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement or the contract amendment with Compulink Management to extend the contract term. So all in favor? Aye. Motion is carried, and we will have that on the agenda to extend it to meet with the state's contract. Thank you very much. Next, we have Eric Preston. We're going to hear about some grant money that we'd like to receive for the Highway Safety Improvement Grant for Canyon Drive and Weiland Street Access Control.
Yes, council members, it's nice to talk to you again this evening about some free money, hopefully. I do have two back-to-back grants. Would you like me to present them?
Yes, please.
Okay. So yeah, the first one, as you mentioned, is at the intersection of Canyon and Weiland. This grant was awarded to the city in a letter from WSDOT dated September 12th. So what is HSIP? It's quite simply a Highway Safety Improvement Program. It is federal money that is administered by WSDOT, who determines what projects receive grant funds in the state. WSDOT requires a local road safety plan be submitted with the application. So in March of this year, we completed Kent's second local road safety plan. The plan focuses on analysis of serious and fatal injury crashes over the last 5 years. So in that case, it was 2016 to 2020. Then WSDOT selects either spot location or systemic projects from the plan, and WSDOT felt this was a good project. So this is a map of the spot location projects from the plan. The intersection of Canyon Drive is there with the arrow. You can see it's about halfway up the east hill, but not still Canyon Drive. It hasn't turned into Kent Kingley Road quite yet, where the orange triangle is. So why this location? Well, remember that WSDOT chooses the projects off the project list based on the local road safety plan, which analyzes those 5 years of data. Unfortunately, we did have serious injury crashes here in 2016 and 2019. The project was ranked number 1 based on WSDOT criteria in that plan. So the project would add median curbing to physically restrict those turns, but still allow left turns into Weiland. In fact, right now, currently, there are left turn restrictions by signs already at the intersection. So we're not changing the actual control or the actual movements we're basically hardening those restrictions that are still there. In fact, you can see, whoops, I'm trying to highlight for you, sorry. You can see there are pavement markings there that say right turn only, which mirrors what it is on the signage. So why access control? Well, it actually physically prevents the left turns out of Weiland. And the existing restriction is just being hardened, but this will reduce both the number and severity of the crashes at the intersection. And so the curbing in the photo is an example of what we might be able to put out there. This is on James Street at the Ice Center. So what does it cost? Our project estimate is $111,000, which is also the grant award amount, and no match is required. Our goal is to have this project obligated by April 30th of 2025. So, any questions before I go on to the next grant?
Council members?
No.
Okay. And so this one is would build 2 RRFB crossings at along 104th Avenue Southeast. This one was also awarded to the city based on a letter from WashDOT dated September 13th. And so there are 2 locations shown by the yellow squares on 104th Avenue. On the East Hill, this is near the Fred Meyer and the 240th Street intersection. So again, remember that WashDOT chooses the projects off of our list based on those 5 years of crash data. Unfortunately, we had 4 serious injury crashes total between these 2 locations over that 5 years. Both projects are top 15 projects in the local road safety plan based on WashDOT's criteria. This project would add median refuge islands and rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Both are located in mixed use, primarily commercial areas with lots of origins and destinations on both sides of the street that people want to go to. So why an RRFB? Well, it is a Federal Highway Administration proven safety countermeasure. It's been shown to be very effective, not only in Kent, but across the region. And been shown to reduce pedestrian crashes by 47% and increase driver yielding rates by up to 98%. So it cost, the project estimate is for $807,000, which is also our total grant award amount. And again, no match is required, and our goal would be to obligate as well by April of 2025. So I'm available for questions.
Council members?
Thank you, Eric. I'm actually very excited to see this project, especially the one on 104th Avenue. I think that's very much needed because I've personally seen individuals almost getting hit there. So it'll be a big improvement, and the best part is that it's grant money, so I like seeing that. So thank you.
It really is free grant money since there's no match required.
Match at all. It's
Exactly.
keep bringing those forward. We like
Okay.
this.
Okay, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So, Chair, I move to authorize the mayor to take all action necessary and sign all documents to accept grant funding from WSDOT Highway Safety Improvement Program to design and construct safety improvements at the intersection of Canyon Drive, State Route 516, and Weiland Street.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the grant authorizing the improvements at Canyon Drive and Weiland. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion has passed. And now we are ready for the other one.
Chair, I move to authorize the mayor to take all action necessary and sign all documents to accept grant funding from WSDOT Highway Safety Improvement Program to design and construct pedestrian safety improvements on 104th Avenue Southeast, SR 515.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept grants to do the improvements on 104th State Route 515. All in favor? Oh, hold on, please.
Nope, not trying to stop anything.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And just one note, we saw in the picture, it showed the pylons that stick up. That was an example, not necessarily what it absolutely will be, correct?
I believe you're talking about the curb.
No, the separators in the street, just so if people see those and it turns out to be something else, they're not shocked that this is this for sure what it's going to be, or is this an example of what it could be?
An example of what it could be. It's kind of our leading, I guess you could say.
So I just wanted to emphasize that in case somebody sees it and it did turn out to be something different.
Yes, thanks. That portion of Canyon Drive is still SR 516, so we still have some coordination with the state to do on that. So they'll have their say in what it turns out to be.
Thank you. Okay, and now we are going to move on to our director, Chad Barron, with the 224th Street projects.
Kelly's going to help me out with the presentation. This is an item that has some history. High Tech finishes on 216th, just east of East Valley Highway. They own property to their west that is considered wetland. The city purchased that property just in the last couple of years after a number of years of negotiation as part of the 224th Street project, where we went up and over 167 and then north on 88th. We filled wetlands to complete that project. And we needed to identify an area to mitigate the wetland impacts. We looked at a number of potential areas, but there weren't any large enough in Kent close to the area of impact, and then looked at alternatives as far-reaching as going to King County to take part in their wetland in lieu fee mitigation program. But we settled on the High Tech site because of its proximity and because it gave us the proper size for the mitigation area. During the investigation of the site, we had an incident, gosh, it was right around Christmas, probably 2016, and where someone illegally dumped motor oil at the end of the cul-de-sac, and there was a contamination on site. Ecology came out and cleaned that up. We did sampling, and Ecology did sampling to make sure that the site was cleaned up, and in doing so, we found cadmium contamination, which is not typical in the valley. It turns out that High Tech has used cadmium in some of their processes, and so we believe that that's where the issue emanated from. And in fact, they stipulated that during discussions for the property. So long story short, we stayed with this site. We had a couple of reasons. One, we were able to clean up a site in Kent and do our mitigation nearby in Kent, which we prefer to do and is also part of our code. We also, we had a drainage easement on this site, so it essentially made us a party to this contamination issue. So we really needed to be a part of the solution of cleaning the site up. In doing so, we had to go through and identify just how much cadmium was on the site and the extent of the contamination itself. So we did some site investigation, had a consultant come in, take samples. They actually take them off to a lab and test the samples to see how hot the samples are. In doing so, we thought we were able to identify the perimeter of the contamination fairly well, and then we had to get an idea of the depth, which we also tried to get an idea of the depth of contamination. We went out with a contract that council authorized about a year and a half ago for $500,000 and change to clean up the site. During that contract, we actually had a consultant on site taking sampling, and they would run back to the lab, have the samples tested, and they would tell us the extent, both area on the surface and then depth of the contamination itself. So we essentially had to keep digging until we ran out of contamination. And in doing so, we finished that work up just about several weeks ago. Doing so, we went over on the original estimate of how much material we thought would come off the site. So that's why I'm here tonight as part of the contracting policy. This goes beyond the limits that either I can authorize as a change order or the mayor can authorize as a change order. So it needs to come through committee and council for ratification, because they needed to do the work while they were on site and working. Also, the area is very low. It's it's a wetland. So we need to make sure to get it done before the rain started. So the work has been completed. The good news is the site's cleaned up and it's being planted right now. The unfortunate news is we went over when we did it. So on a contract that came in at 500, and it just went off my screen, 573, we're at about 990, and then we think we've got $50,000 or less to complete the project. So we want to get council authorization to move ahead, complete the work, and have it all done and buttoned up for winter. And with that, I'm available for questions.
Council members.
Yeah, Chad, thank you for that explanation. That's really helpful. So you said when we were negotiating the property, we took into account, I guess, like, you know, what responsibility did we put on
High tech.
high tech for the CAD?
Yeah, it became a negotiation and part of the purchase price. In essence, we got the property that needed to be cleaned up, and then we're paying for the cleanup.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember.
And this is coming out of the project?
Yeah, it's
funding.
we can fund it within the project budget, so there's no additional budgetary hit. We're not asking for additional funds.
Just out of curiosity, why is it over 400, 460 almost over budget?
Yeah, that's so you had to take the additional material out and then bring additional material back in to fill the hole. So again, it was not too much wider than we thought, but it was deeper than we thought. So by the time you add it up, it becomes a fairly large volume fairly quickly.
More contamination.
And it's contaminated material, so it's going off.
Yeah.
It's
Gonna add-
expensive to get rid of.
I was going to ask, where is it disposed of?
There are a number of places that take it. They typically put it on rail cars and rail it out to Central Oregon or Central Washington. There are two different landfills that will take hot material.
Assuming that's not cheap.
No.
Okay. Okay, Chair, I move to authorize payment of additional costs in excess of the mayor's authority for the contract with OMA Construction, Inc. to complete the South 224th Street projects, Wetland Mitigation and Remediation, and ratify past actions consistent with this motion, subject to final terms and conditions acceptable to the Public Works Director and City Attorney.
Second.
All in favor, it has been moved and seconded to allow the excess payment for the additional approximately $50,000 for the payment of the to OMA Construction for the remediation of the project removing the contaminated soil. All in favor?
Aye.
So it has passed, and that will be moved on to council.
And just for clarity, I want to make sure I heard you correctly. So the ratifications for the additional money, the ratifications for the overage of roughly $470,000.
Yes, the overage of about $50,000.
Yeah, and then the additional
Cost of
50.
the excess, yep.
Thank you.
If there is nothing else for the good of the order, that wraps up our meeting for today, and meeting is adjourned.